I'm John Covach, and I'll be teaching the music of the Beatles here on Coursera. You know, the guitar I'm holding here is an almost exact replica of a guitar that George Harrison got in February of 1964 when the Beatles first came to this country. It's a Rickenbacker guitar, and the guy who was running the Rickenbacker company at the time saw the Beatles their I Want to Hold Your Hand was heading up the charts in 1964. He knew that John Lennon played a Rickenbacker guitar, so he made sure he got to New York when the Beatles got there to play on Ed Sullivan. And before the show, the day before the show, got a chance to have the Beatles come over and have a look at some Rickenbacker guitars. George Harrison couldn't be there because he was sick. He was back home in the hotel trying to recover from some kind of an infection that he had. So they saw this Rickenbacker 12-string that looked an awful lot like this, was the second one that Rickenbacker had ever made. And John Lennon thought this would be perfect for George. So they took it back to the hotel room. George played it. He fell in love with it immediately. And it became a part of the Beatles' next set of recordings, which were the recordings for A Hard Day's Night, and you can see him playing it in A Hard Day's Night. The Rickenbacker people gave him that guitar, and they also sent a different one, one like the one John Lennon had already been playing. They sent one of those to him to greet them in Miami when they got there the next week to play on the Ed Sullivan Show. Well, how can a guitar change rock history? Well, because George Harrison played a Rickenbacker 12-string guitar just like this one and played it in A Hard Day's Night, it not only affected the way Beatles records sound, but the guys who would soon come to prominence as the Byrds, Roger McGuinn, saw the Rickenbacker 12-string when George Harrison played it in A Hard Day's Night. They immediately had to have one. And the jingle-jangle sound of this big Rickenbacker guitar is part of what became the American folk rock sound, which really broke out in the summer of 1965. Now, this kind of historical detail, biographical detail, combined with a real attention to the music and the development of musical styles, is really what the music of the Beatles on Coursera is all about, taking into account not only the stories that we know about the lives of these musicians, but how the music goes and how the music develops. So if you're interested in that kind of a thing, and how various things can affect the way musicians play and the way their music sounds, I invite you to join us for the music of the Beatles on Coursera.